Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents The Root of All Evil. So, this evening I'm going to be talking about a woman by the name of Jamila Davis, whom they have deemed the Pink Wolf of Wall Street. Okay, so let's get ready to delve into it, people. Let me get my notes together, and as I'm doing so, everyone, please be sure to go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so. Be sure to click the notification bell so that you're notified each time that the Queen Goddess goes live. Hello, William. So let me get my receipts together. And pull up this article. In the meantime, please go ahead and like and share the video, okay? Please be sure to like and share the video. All right. So people, you may have noticed that it took me a minute to post this video. That's because I posted it mistakenly on the wrong page, okay? That is why it's posted on the wrong page. I'm sorry. I have so many channels, sometimes I get confused, people. Okay, here we go. Now, as I said, this is going to be about Jamila T. Davis, the black woman who was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for a numerous barrage of charges, mostly mortgage fraud, okay? They deemed her the Pink Wolf of Wall Street. They say that she's, in fact, the one who single-handedly brought down Merrill Lynch, which I find very interesting because, you see, there were white men who were doing the same thing she was doing. In fact, they went to prison as well, but they got minuscule sentences compared to hers. She got 12 years. I think the one of them that got the highest after her was like 3 years. One of them got 18 months. They're the ones that she says, in fact, taught her how to do the crime. She just got a little better at it than them and started making more money. And I think that may have had the problem. That's maybe where the problem came from. But at the end of the day, when they all got busted, they pointed the finger at the black woman and let her take the rap. And this is how it always ends for black people. When you're in cahoots with Hellman's crew members, no less. Pink collar crimes. Jamila Davis scammed millions in bank fraud, they say. Now, Pink collar crimes featured Jamila Davis in season 1 in an episode of the CBS episode titled, The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, Jamila was an entrepreneur whose drive to succeed took her just too far. The CBS show profiled the businesswoman and single mom of 2 children. Now, she figured out a criminal way to balance work with her anti-average 9-to-5 mom lifestyle. But Davis slid down the slippery slope into financial fraud, no less. They say that she was sentenced to 12 years. Now, on the Pink collar crimes, Jamila Davis describes her childhood while growing up, or on the show Pink Collar Crimes. Now, she hails from Queens, New York, and grew up with hardworking middle-class parents. Her mother was a school teacher, and her father was a New York Transit Authority supervisor. She says she was raised with very good values. Now, Jamila did very well in school and was a talented dancer. In fact, her talent led her to be accepted into a prestigious high school of the performing arts in Manhattan. Her downfall began when she dated a drug dealer. Jamila says she was drawn into the lifestyle, and after her boyfriend dumped her, she began dealing drugs and was very successful. Now, in 1997, Jamila Davis used her success as a drug dealer to buy a Lexus GS300. I had one of those myself. Of course, I didn't get it from selling drugs. No less. So anyway, Queen, please tell other people on the other channel we're waiting on you. Oh my goodness. Oh, hold on just a second. Can one of you go over there and get them in the chats? Queen, you need mods on here also. Hey, wonderful mods. Yes, Kendla, thank you, beloved. I absolutely do need mods on this channel. I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting. Let me see if I can go onto this other channel and let everyone know to come over here. I actually need one of you all to do it. It would be much easier if one of you all could just go on there. Okay, thank you, beloved. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you, beloved. Okay. It's all my fault. Listen, sometimes I'm working so much and I'm doing so many videos and trying to get so much information out here to you guys. I just get confused. I'm sorry. Bear with me, people. You know, this is hard work. It really is. Okay? And I get confused with all the channels sometimes. I forget that I'm supposed to start a live on a different channel, and I'll stay on the same one. Princess, I got you. I'll go over to the other channel. Thank you, CH464. Thank you kindly. So with that all being said, after this broadcast, I'm going to have to make some of you moderators over here. Miss Natural Candy J says, it's all right. Thank you, beloved. Kayla said, I did it also, Queen. Thank you. You all are the absolute best. I love my royals, and I love my moderators. Okay, so let me get back to it, people. Let me get black to it. So they say in 1997, Jamila used her success as a drug dealer to buy a Lexus GS300. Now, she bought that specific car because the neighborhood rapper made good. Jay-Z, that's who was the neighborhood rapper. He had the same car. So when her neighbors saw the car that she was driving, they asked for her help obtaining loans to buy them a car. Now, Jamila left the drug trade and began to do legitimate business. New beginnings, helping people obtain auto loans. Now, the new businesswoman became frustrated when clients started getting denied loans. Jamila Davis was respected in her neighborhood, and she wanted to make her clients happy. She grew angry over rejected loans due to bad credit scores. Davis had a big reputation to uphold. Now, on Pink Collar Crimes, Jamila claims an auto broker helped her to meet a hacker. Not just any hacker. You see, this hacker could hack into all 3 credit bureaus. She claims that credit scores shot up from 400 to 800 within minutes. Bet some of you wish you all had known that hacker, no less. So anyway, she says, I knew I was wrong. I knew I shouldn't do it. However, many credit industry experts believe Jamila was using other fraudulent tactics to get her clients these loans. There are no known instances of hackers accessing all 3 credit bureaus, and her court records for the case are sealed. Now, Jamila risked her business reputation and kids. She says, I wanted people to view me in a way that I really wasn't. As soon as her clients began defaulting on the car loans, the banks caught wind of the scheme. Jamila Davis was then arrested. Now, she cut a plea deal and received a slap on the wrist. She received 5 years probation and no jail time. Her attorney was also able to get her court records sealed in the plea agreement. Getting her former clients to getting them to voluntarily return the cars to the banks helped Jamila to avoid prison. Let me tell you how this all went wrong, people. Let me tell you how this all went wrong. See, this was her first con. Now, the next would be with the big banks for the mortgage lending. But let me tell you how this whole auto thing went awry. Here's what happens, okay? So she was trying to get these people loans. And so she says that somebody changed their credit scores, hacked into the systems of all 3 credit bureaus. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That's not usually how this works. I'm going to tell you what likely happened, in my opinion. What likely happened is somebody was making fake check stubs and even fake W-2s. And those were used to fraudulently get the people approved for the loans. Queen Ahmadiyyah says Queen Ahmadiyyah is always on fire. Thank you, beloved. So by getting these fraudulent check stubs and W-2s done, and you pay someone to do this, is what they usually do. And then so that will get the people approved. But here's the trick. If you have fraudulent credit check stubs made, and they show that you're making $150,000 a year, for example, and you're only really making $40,000 a year, and then they sell you an expensive high-end car, right? It's like a fancy new Lexus. And they're showing, according to your W-2s and your check stubs, that you can pay for it. Because, hey, you make $150,000 a year. But if you really don't make that much money, you only make $40,000, then you really can't afford those payments 9 times out of 10. And so with that being said, you sooner or later default on the loan and start making your payments later, not making them at all, missing payments. And then, oh, that's when the red flag pops up, you see. And that's when they say, wait a minute, look at here. How did this person get approved? I mean, it shows they make $150,000 per year, but they can't even pay a $400 or $500 car note every month. Something's not right about this. So then they go and get that microscope and they start looking at it and going through it with a fine-tooth comb. And that's when they realize, oh, somebody lied. Somebody got some fake W-2s and check stubs. And that's how the fraud unravels, okay? That's how it unravels, people. I don't think anybody hacked all 3 credit bureaus, because even if they had and they changed their credit scores, how would they have then proven that the people fraudulently obtained the loans? Their credit scores showed it. I mean, would they have found out that someone hacked the system and changed their credit scores? I doubt it. But let me continue. So she got a plea agreement and she got probation, right? And she got no jail time because the people turned the cards back in to the banks. But then Jamila's father owned investment real estate. Now he helped her to buy her first piece of real estate in Brooklyn. Jamila was on her way to owning a legitimate real estate investment company. Now, in 2008, she started Diamond Star Financial. It was a model similar to her automobile venture. Instead of helping people get into cars, she wanted to help them get into houses. Now, she zeroed in on Alpine, New Jersey, which has multi-million-dollar homes. When one of her deals fell through, Jamila decided to buy the multi-million-dollar home for herself. The only problem was Jamila Davis didn't have the income to qualify for the mortgage. So what did she do? Well, I'm glad you asked. To purchase the home, Jamila found a straw buyer. For those of you who don't know what that is, let me explain. You see, I used to work during my internship when I was in college. I worked for a real estate attorney, so I know all about these things. So that all being said, a straw buyer is when you go get someone who's got good credit and they've got the funds and the job, and they can prove it through their check stubs and all that they qualify for the loan. So you get them to go in there and act as though they're purchasing the house for themselves, but they're really purchasing it for you, and you're going to pay them like big money to do this and get it in their name. All you have to do is then keep up the mortgage payments. Now let me continue. So she decides to get a straw buyer. Someone who never intended to live in the home and was used in name only. She forged payroll statements and tax docs to make it look like this person had the income to afford the home. And the bank approved the mortgage. It's just like with the auto thing, with the cars. It's the same thing all over again. Fraudulence, check stubs and W-2s. Same thing. Now, in some cases, they get people who actually do have a job making enough money and who actually do have the credit scores. And they usually just use that person's credits. So it's in their name. And they don't have to do all this other fraudulent activity. But they just get the person to sign and say they're purchasing it or whatever. And then at closing, they usually give the person like $10,000 for doing so. But most of the time, they do exactly what she did with the auto thing. They have somebody with these fake W-2s and fake check stubs and all of that, and they get the person approved. But here's what happens. The same thing that happened with those cars. The people weren't really making that money, so they couldn't keep up the note. That's the same things that happen with the mortgage companies. You lie and say you make $150,000 a year, and so they approve you for a house, which mortgage might be $1,500 per month. But you really don't make $150,000 a year. You only make $50,000 a year. And with all the other bills that you have, and not to mention days you may have to take off work when you're sick or whatever, then you can't afford that $1,500 loan. Or mortgage. So then sooner than later, it goes into foreclosure, or you start making late payments. And that's when they like the Carlin companies, they start digging through, looking at it with a microscope, digging through it with a fine-tooth comb. This is what they start doing. So with that all being said, once Jamila discovered that she could forge documents, she began buying more houses. See, this is where greed comes in, people. This is where the love of money, the actual root of all evil, the love of money. She got greedy. Now, she was already on 5 years probation. She actually got a slap on the wrist for the prior offense and got her record sealed. You'd think she'd have learned her lesson, but no, greed set in. And so she says, wait a minute, if I can do this one time for me to get this house for myself, I can do this all the time and even make me some quick cash on the side. So she would inflate the purchase of the house, the price of the house, by millions of dollars by creating fake sales contracts and appraisals. Let me tell you how that works. So you get an appraiser. This is likely what she did. Got an appraiser, and the appraiser went in and they looked at the houses and lied about how much they were worth. So if the house was worth $250,000, clearly that's not what those houses were worth, because she was working with $1 million homes. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. Let's say if the house was actually worth $200,000. You get the appraiser to go in there. The appraiser looks at the house and says, you know what? Okay, I'll just say that it's worth $600,000 because they're paying me to lie. So the appraiser does that. And then the person, now that it's been said by the appraiser that the house is worth $600,000, well, now they sell this house for that much money. And then they get all this extra money back at closing. But sooner than later, these things always fall apart. So anyway, federal court documents obtained by Soap Dirt show Jamila took a house selling for $1.8 million and led the bank to believe her straw buyer was purchasing the home for $3.5 million. In other words, she was taking out a mortgage for almost $2 million more than the amount needed to purchase the home. Well, that's because of the fraudulent appraisal. Now, this left almost $2 million that she kept. This is what she kept and shared with her partners in crime. That's what happens. They get that money at closing. And then they split it and divvy it up amongst themselves. Clearly fraud. Now, court documents also show the straw buyers did not have the income to afford the home. That's because they had fake check stubs and fake W-2s. Now, one straw buyer was a bartender and made about $1,600 per year. Yet the forged W-2s submitted to the bank showed his income was $500,000 per year. This same straw buyer also had overdrawn bank accounts. Yet the forged bank statements given to the mortgage company showed his bank account had a balance of $1.2 million. In the end, Jamila Davis took out $29 million in mortgages. As she defaulted on the mortgages, Lehman Brothers Bank figured out the scam. Now, the prosecution painted Jamila as the mastermind, even though she wasn't. I told you it was the white guys that taught her how to do the scam. Now, the FBI was confident there was enough evidence to prove a pink-collar crime. The jury returned a guilty verdict after 2 hours of deliberation. Because of her prior conviction of a similar crime, Jamila was sentenced to 12.5 years for mortgage fraud. Jamila Davis spent 9 years in federal prison. She now speaks out to younger women about her crimes. Jamila was an invisible woman in prison. That's what she says about her sentence. So with that all being said, you see how this all goes, people? Crime clearly doesn't pay. Though you may be reaping the rewards at the moment and getting all this big amounts of Skrilla, racks, bands, and all of that, and just balling out of control and thinking you're doing living high off the hog, sooner than later, something's going to happen to put them onto you, and they're going to come knocking at your door. They're going to come knocking at your door, people. This is how it always turns up. This is how it always turns out. Well, I'm sure her black ace won't be getting a slap on the wrist this time around. No, she didn't. She got 12 years, sentenced to 12 years, and stayed there for at least 9. Okay? So clearly, crime doesn't pay, people. That's what it doesn't do. So that is the story of Jamila Davis. And, now she does go around speaking to young women and telling them about her life of crime and telling them not to do these things. And you see, here's the thing, people. If you go out into the world and you commit a crime, and especially when this crime is against your own people, because you see, when Jamila was doing this mortgage fraud, she wasn't doing this to white people. She was doing this to her own black people. And many black people, almost all black people who commit mortgage fraud, bank fraud, and wire fraud, well, their victims are almost always black. So the thing is this. At least Jamila can admit that she was wrong, can admit that she effed up and that she was just being greedy. And now she takes her time going out to talk to other women, young black women, to tell them what not to do and how she screwed up and how it cost her time in prison. And also she hurt her own black community. Now that's admirable that she's going out here, making recompense for the things that she did. But at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, Echo Bella says some other people are waiting on the other channel. I am so sorry. People went over there to tell them to come over. So that all being said, at the end of the day, and other like VD, she's still lying, saying she was an activist, says Donna. Yes, this is what some people do. They go out here and commit these crimes, and then they'll lie and act like, oh, I was just helping black people. I was an activist. I was targeted because of my politics, and because I was trying to speak up and be a whistleblower for black people, knowing good and darn well the FBI got all the receipts and everything else to prove it. Here's the thing. If you get charged and convicted of mortgage fraud, 9 times out of 10, you did exactly what they say you did. Because here's the thing. In order to commit mortgage fraud, you have to have your signature on paperwork. Okay? That is sad, but at least she'll learn from it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the best way to prove that you've learned is to admit the truth about what you did. And to then try to rectify yourself in the situation by helping black people, the same people that you conned and scammed. But some people won't do that. They'll just simply lie and act as though they were trying to help black people. And that's why the feds targeted them and put them behind bars and set them up. No, you set yourself up when you engage in mortgage, bank fraud, and wire fraud. That's what you do. And again, as I say, because I did work for a real estate attorney, when you're charged with mortgage fraud, your name has to be on the documents. You had to be there at that closing. Or you gave someone permission to be there for you and stand in stand in for you and to sign your name and things. But you know about these things, especially when you're the mastermind. Okay? So with that all being said, that is the story of Jamila Davis, aka the Pink Wolf of Wall Street, as they call her. And I hope you all enjoyed the story. Now I'll be returning at 7 o'clock on Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents Beyond the Realm, and I will be on the right channel this time, people. Trust me, don't worry. And I'm going to be talking about paranormal activity, okay? So with that all being said, I thank you all for tuning back in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents The Root of All Evil. I hope you enjoyed the show, and until next time, Royals, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.